It's brittle on the outside and soft and fudgy on the inside. You're going to love this cake, and it's going to be your new go-to cake to bake. To make this cake, we're going to be using dark chocolate. I found this 72% Belgian dark chocolate at Trader Joe's. It's silky, smooth, and delicious. You can even use semi-sweet chocolate chips if you have those on hand, but of course, the final flavor will all depend on the quality of the chocolate you use. We're going to roughly chop them up so we can melt them down faster. I like having some toasted nuts in my cake, but if you're allergic, you can totally leave it out. I'm using hazelnuts today, but you can substitute with almonds or even walnuts. Just roughly chop them up and set it aside. The special ingredient in this recipe is the extra virgin olive oil. Today I'm using one from Trader Joe's, and no, this video is not sponsored by them. I just think they make quality products and I use them a lot in my recipes. But really, you can use any brand, just make sure it's not blended with any other oils. Next, measure out 200 grams of sugar, and then let's work on separating our yolks from the whites. So we're going to be making a meringue with our egg whites. And to make a meringue, we're going to need a glass or stainless steel bowl that's super clean and dry. If there's any drops of water or oily residue in your meringue bowl, your egg whites will not whip up. So make sure that your bowl is absolutely spotless. So to separate my yolks, I like to use a 3-bowl system. I have a small bowl here in which I will break the eggs and separate my egg whites. Then I'll drop the yolks into a bigger bowl and then pour the egg whites from the small bowl into the meringue bowl. This way, in case I pop a yolk, I will not contaminate the other egg whites. Because if there's even a single drop of yolk in your meringue bowl, your egg whites will not whip up. Alright, so all our ingredients are ready. Let's melt our chocolate. I have some steaming hot water in a pot, and I'm going to put a heat-proof bowl on top. Make sure that the water is not touching your bowl and the water is not boiling. Drop in 200 grams of dark chocolate and let it melt away. You can stir it around to help it melt faster, and then once it's completely melted and you get this gorgeous silky liquid, pour in half a cup of extra virgin olive oil in a single stream and whisk it into the melted chocolate. When it's all mixed in, we're going to add a pinch of sea salt and stir it in. Now use a damp kitchen towel to secure your mixing bowl. I have 5 yolks separated from its whites. We're going to add about 100 grams of sugar, which is half of what we measured earlier, and just whisk everything together. Once it's all combined, we're going to pour in the chocolate mixture and whisk it in. Make sure you get every last drop of that chocolate gold. You'll end up with something looking like this. Then add in the nuts and fold it in with a spatula. For our next step, we need to pay very close attention to our egg whites as we whisk them into a meringue. I highly recommend using an electric whisk unless you're really strong and have done this many times before. Start by whisking the egg whites on high speed until it is frothy, and then add 1/3 of the remaining sugar and 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar. You can substitute the cream of tartar with 1 teaspoon white vinegar. They both help stabilize the meringue. Continue to whisk on high speed until the volume has doubled, and then add another 1/3 of the sugar. Keep whisking for another 20 to 30 seconds or until the foam starts to disappear, and then add the rest of the sugar in. We're going to continue whisking on high speed, but from here on out, we need to pay close attention to the texture of the egg whites. You'll start seeing it become a lot thicker and look really creamy. If we stop to check, it will still be very liquidy when we lift the whisk. So check after every 10 seconds of whisking. We are looking for soft peaks. When you lift your whisk from the meringue, the tip should have a bend to it like this. This is a soft peak. If you somehow over-whisked it and ended up with stiff peaks, have no fear, you can still use the meringue to make the cake. Now add in 1/3 of the meringue into the chocolate mixture and mix it up. You can see the chocolate mixture is quite thick, so adding the meringue will help loosen the batter and get it ready to fold in the remaining meringue. Now once it's all mixed in and loose, add half of the remaining meringue, but this time slowly and gently fold it into the chocolate mixture. I'm using my spatula to gently scoop from the bottom and fold it over the top and then cutting it through the center. It's important to do this very gently so we don't lose all the air we whipped up in the meringue. Now once it's mostly incorporated, we can add in the remaining meringue and gently fold it in again. When everything is folded in properly and there are no whites left in the batter, we can transfer it into our cake pan. Today, I'm using an 8-inch Fat Daddy-O cheesecake pan lined with parchment paper and buttered on the inside. So pour the batter in and then use the flat end of your spatula to carefully flatten the surface. Then bake it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 Celsius for 50 minutes on the center rack. When the time is up, use a long skewer and stick it into the center of the cake. If it comes out wet, then it needs more time. If it needs to bake longer than 50 minutes, reduce the temperature to 300 degrees and bake for another 5 minutes. Use the skewer again to check for doneness, and if it comes out clean, remove the cake from the oven and allow it to cool down in the pan. The cake will deflate and the top will crack as it cools down, but that's completely normal, so don't worry about it. The cake has now cooled down and I'm going to remove it from the pan and dust some powdered sugar over it. And there we have it, flourless dark chocolate olive cake. This is looking so gorgeous, I am ready to dig in. Just look at that, just look at how moist and fudgy the center looks. It is absolutely delicious. I love to serve this with some fresh whipped cream, it just goes so well with it. For me, the crust is a favorite. I just love how it's so brittle and it breaks apart, and then the center is so fudgy and gooey. Yeah. The contrast is this is
delicious.
Look at this. Oof. This piece. This piece.
Everything you ever wanted.
That's a wrap.